And here at the TIA 2016 Network of the Future Conference in Dallas, Texas, TIA now will explore the impact that IoT and cloud computing will have on our data centers. Here to talk to us is Mike Capuano, Vice President of Worldwide Marketing at Infinera. And Mike, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
It's great to be here.
Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for participating, by the way, in the TIA 2016 conference, but also being a part of the TIA Now studio. I want to talk about cloud infrastructure and the service market and how that's grown over the last few years, and maybe some examples of maybe platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, and how those markets have grown as well.
Sure. I mean, we've seen explosive growth in cloud. Infinera is in 3 of the top 4 internet content providers, so you can think about companies like Facebook, for example, which is one that we've publicly announced. We're seeing companies just invest huge amounts in large data centers in rural areas, and as these services that they offer, things like platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, continue to grow, and as we see more and more enterprises moving their workload capacity into the cloud, they're actually starting now to move data centers out into metros. So we're seeing tremendous investment in building out metro data centers that kind of complement these sort of rural, large-scale, web-scale data centers.
I want to talk about cloud computing and really maybe the Internet of Things as a technology, as a market, and how the conversation's changed so much from how it taxes the network to really how it's allowing the network to be more robust and built out. Do you see that discussion transitioning as well?
Well, you know, where Infinera plays is, we play in multiple markets, but one where we do play a lot now is data center interconnect. And this is sort of high capacity optical interconnections between data centers. So if you look at how data centers are starting with these large rural data centers, which is close to power, where there's lots of land to build out sort of massive warehouse scale compute, they're now moving into metro data centers, and we're starting to see a kind of a web of optical interconnection between all of these data centers. The reason they're moving these data centers into the metro is to try to get content and services closer to the user, so they have a really solid experience. So, you know, I don't know the right way to characterize it, but fundamentally, we're just seeing a massive investment in cloud infrastructure, including the network, and at the end of the day, you're going to end up with lots of data centers interconnected with optical capacity.
I'm glad you brought it up. So you brought up DCI, data center interconnection, but just from maybe from a market perspective or even a business perspective, what consumer services and maybe business applications are really driving that to happen?
So we're seeing lots of enterprises move services into the cloud, and obviously there's lots of consumer services in the cloud. You think about things like Netflix, you think about things like Facebook. Let me focus on consumer services for a minute. One of the phenomenons that's happening in the cloud is when you look at data centers, and cloud will ride on top of a data center, right? You think, wow, there's all this traffic going from the data center to the user. When I think about things like streaming video. But in reality, traffic that goes between data centers is growing much faster. If you look at Facebook as an example, as a user, I go and put in a request for my page. That's one HTTP request that goes up. Then when Facebook builds that page, it bounces around 930 times between machines or between servers. So you hear about that as east-west traffic or server-to-server traffic. And fundamentally, some of that traffic stays in the data center, some of it goes between data centers, and that's where you get this need for DCI. Now, if I look at enterprise services, you look at reports that say, you know, by 2020, 70% of enterprise workloads will be in the cloud. You can see information from Synergy that shows cloud applications like infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, growing from 10 billion to 30 billion in the span of just a few years. So it's a huge shift in the world, and it's going to be significant.
I'm glad we had a chance to talk about really sort of from the edge on the cloud computing side and all the way back to DCI, data center interconnection. I know Infinera is really leading the charge, if I may say that, for as far as DCI goes. And you're doing a lot of work in that space, so it's great to have you here. I know you're going to have to get out and out of the conference and on a plane very soon, so we'll say goodbye, and until next time, thank you.
Great to be here. Thanks for your time. All
right, thanks, Mike. And thank you for joining us at TIA 2016 Network of the Future, and from the Dell TIA Now studio. For more coverage, please visit tianow.org. So long.